Good afternoon. Welcome in Guerilla Sports Off Ice. I'm Jesse Montano, going to be joined by the one and only Meghan Angley here in just a few moments. Avs game day here tonight. They bounce back. Really nice win on Monday afternoon against the Washington Capitals. You just like that game from start to finish, especially after the couple games the Avs had preceding that. They had a long week to sit and think about a couple losses, including what a lot of the guys have described as their worst game of the season last Friday against Nashville Predators. So they bounced back on Monday, looking to continue building on that tonight against the Anaheim Ducks that went through a really rough stretch, but it bounced back with 4 straight wins. We're going to unpack what to expect tonight, what we saw in those last couple games, and then wouldn't you know it, the Colorado Avalanche made a trade yesterday. Ilya Solovyov is on the move. We're going to talk about where he ended up, what the Avs got back, and why that's consequential as we're about 6 weeks out from the deadline. But as we keep reminding you guys, there's not as much time as it would seem given the Olympic trade freeze that's coming up. There's only a limited number of games left for NHL teams before that trade deadline rolls around, and the Avs started getting busy. We're going to unpack that and what it might possibly mean for the moves to come. Got a great show for you guys. John's behind the glass today. Want to start by reminding you guys about our fantastic partners over at Furniture Row. If you love the look of this set, and how do you not, you got to head on over to see our friends at Furniture Row. It's a family-owned company that offers high-quality home furniture at an incredible value. It's an experience truly tailored for everyone, and it's the power of an enjoyable, hassle-free shopping experience. People love to be able to shop for their living room, dining room, and bedroom furniture at one location. Quickly made, excuse me, and we quickly made providing a superior shopping experience the cornerstone of the business. You guys got to go check out Furniture Row and their locations across not only the Front Range, but all across the country. Real furniture, real value, Furniture Row. Also want to remind you guys about our partners over at RefiJet. If you guys didn't know by now, you can refinance your auto loan. You can save around $150 every single month, all with just a soft credit pull and zero hassle. It's lower payments. It's flexible terms. RefiJet does the work. You get the savings. Head on over refijet.com/sports. See if they can't help you save a bit of money every month. Fill out a form. See how RefiJet can help you out. You guys hear me talk about it every episode. The best way to support us and what we're doing here at Guerilla Sports Off Ice, and hey, out in the field, especially as we head down the home stretch here, is by supporting our partners. So head on over refijet.com/sports. It is the faster, easier way to refinance. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome in Guerilla Sports Off Ice. I'm Jesse Montano. She's Meghan Angley. And I didn't sing my intro this time because you told me you didn't like it last time.
It was how long it was.
Yeah, you know what? It's all right.
It was scary.
I thought about that for the rest of the night. But it was all right.
Song.
How are you doing?
I'm all right.
You've been day to day the last couple days.
I want to issue a formal apology to everybody. I've been dealing with the weirdest sickness of my life. It's probably just bronchitis. I've just never had it. And so I don't feel that bad right now, but I have a weird cough. It keeps me up at night. Chest hurts. I feel fine right now, but night and morning are really rough for me. So that's why I wasn't at morning skate. I've been a little bit away from the team. Like I did Eagles on Sunday. It was great. They got the sweep. And then I came home from Eagles that night feeling a little bit sick. I'm on the mend. I think I'm rounding a corner. So thanks everyone for being patient with our off ice schedule this week. Mm-hmm. I know that one of the things we want to do is sit down and hammer out a schedule for the show.
Yeah.
I have made that difficult this week because I've not been feeling well.
And hey, well, we won't put it all on you. The Avs played during our pod time on Monday.
That was really rude.
So that didn't help either. Are you you don't sound congested. Are you? And I'm sorry, this is probably be a little gross. Are you mucusy like at night?
Not
like, is that
really.
What's keeping you up?
That's why it's weird. It's a very dry experience.
See, because I was gonna look, Sudafed doesn't sponsor this show, but if you'd like to, I could not recommend Sudafed more highly. I crush that stuff and it helps cough, congestion, stuff like that for me. But if you're dealing with a dry cough, that's not really going to do much for you.
No, and whatever is in, like, if you're not getting the prescription Sudafed, like the real deal, whatever's on the shelves, terrible.
Yep.
And so I don't feel that congested. That's what's been the other weird thing here is I'm typically a sinus congestion person, and it just hasn't really been that experience. So this is all really new to me. I feel fine.
All really new to me.
And I feel fine to be around right now as long as I don't cough once.
You said something very important there. You need the Sudafed that you have to go to the pharmacy to get. You don't need a prescription for it. You don't need a prescription for it, but you have to go to the pharmacy because they got to check your ID and all that stuff, make sure you're not in any databases. But Sudafed, that stuff is my like go-to when I start feeling coffee and congested and all that stuff. Coffee is kind of, I guess,
coffee.
Say that.
Yeah, I still love Mucinex, but
it just makes me feel too weird.
It does make me feel weird. Did someone say that in the chat? Because
no. Yeah. That's just me. Like I had that really bad experience. We all got a good laugh out of when I took it as I got in bed in combination with a sleeping pill, and I just had the weirdest night of my life.
Stop.
I was buzzing so hard off the Mucinex, but like I had this weird grogginess from the sleep. I was trying to like sleep on the floor because I've heard that helps.
Yeah.
And so the last time I took Mucinex, I was like, all right, well, I'm not taking it in the middle of the night this time, so I'm sure it'll be good. And I still just came in here and felt really weird on the show.
Yeah.
So
I understand that. I'm even prepared for it today. So like for myself, apologies or not apologies.
I appreciate the symptom relief I get from Mucinex, but man, it makes my head do some swimming.
Yeah.
Hey, again, Mucinex, we got a spot for you here on this show.
They're in with the Hughes brothers, so
that's right.
The hockey to Mucinex pipeline is right there.
It's right there. It makes perfect sense. C-Mac, if you could go out and bring one of the Hughes brothers in so we get a little bit more of that direct connection, that would help us out.
No big deal.
No big deal. NBD.
Doesn't matter which one.
Yeah, I was going to say, really any of them. We're just looking for that contact number to get exchanged. All right. I mean, do you want to talk about hockey or just
yes?
Can we keep talking about mild illness?
You guys, so much has happened. We didn't get to talk about the Preds' loss, and we didn't then get to talk about this Washington game just from Monday. I mean, I don't know what time is, but those things happened. Obviously, there's a trade. There's some optimism on the injury front. So there's just so much to talk about. So
let's go with the games first, because I got a fun story for the trade yesterday. Are
you on Mucinex?
No, you would think though. Let's go back to Friday. I don't even think there's much real debate. That was the worst Avs game so far of the season. When they lost 7-3 to the Nashville Predators. Now look, I want to come in behind that and say like it didn't cause any concern for me. You knew you were due for at least one stinker like that this season. But in typical Avs fashion, from the coaching staff, Jared Bednar down to the players, there definitely seemed to be a sense that they didn't like the way that game went, not because of the result, but because of the process and how they arrived at that result. So there's a big emphasis on pushing back, which they did on Monday. But before we get to that, your perspective on what you saw between Colorado and Nashville on Friday in a game that, the Avs made the score competitive at times, but that was finally the game where we kept waiting for it to not be their night. Boy, oh boy, that was not their night.
Yeah, I think the issue became the pride component because it was pretty evenly matched. Nashville had the edge. I think the leadership of Ryan O'Reilly really shined through in that game, and the contrast then of the Avs missing Landeskog felt emphasized just a little bit. But there's other leaders, Brock Nelson being the one to kind of neutralize some of that quick attack from Nashville with how that game starts. So for a while there, it's kind of an exchange back and forth, but there's a point where it gets out of their reach and they let it, they lose their fight, and the pride component then of a penalty kill that goes sideways and then a shorthanded goal against is kind of when you knew they were checked out. And that's a weird thing for this team. We've not seen them do that at all this season. They've stayed in the fight for the full 60, even if it wasn't a full 60 effort, right? Typically, too, some of these comeback efforts we've seen from them have been because of a shaky period, a shaky start, a bad shift, and they've bounced back from it redemptively because they've played the right way. And it's been everybody fully bought in, line by line. And it's hard then for teams to deny that. Even if the Avs are trailing, it's hard for them to deny the Avs when they're coming at them in waves like that. And I think that's how the Avs have been able to come back in a lot of games this season or force overtimes, pick up those points. So this just felt uncharacteristic of them. They deviated from their game because typically when met with a bad break in a game, they just get right back in the fight and it's sort of like they checked out. And so that was the part just from the pride component. It's like, at that point, you're not going to score 3 goals, in 2 minutes, but there's still, you have a goaltender and the final score, the way this is going to look when it's all said and done, how we're going to look back on this. I know you can't win this game in the next 2 minutes, that are left in it, but have some pride, man.
Right.
And so I think that was the thing that just felt so disconnected from the identity of the Avs. And they've been so good at playing to their identity all year. That's why, like you, I wasn't worried about it. It was just weird. And that's why we have the benefit of getting to talk about the Washington game so quickly. And I'm not surprised that they answer for it in that way. But I am interested to learn a little bit more. Like Jared Bednar's reaction was very raw in the post game. And it was because he'd not been in that place as a coach yet before. They'd lost games, not many, but they'd lost games in regulation, not many. And so I think it was a reflection of what I'm saying right now, that it's the way they lost. That was the problem. He could live with the way in which some of those other games were lost before. It was the lack of compete in the final minutes that was just not who the Colorado Avalanche are.
Well, and excuse me, I also look at it, from the standpoint of, he talked about it in the morning of like, hey, this is a Nashville team that has not only played us really tough this season, this is a team that's beat us, and this is a team that's playing well right now, just on their own. We need to be ready. We have to come prepared. And I think that was maybe another part of the reason. And again, this is me reading between the lines of everything he said post game. But like, I do wonder if that was another part of the reason that he was, I think raw is a good way of putting it, after the game, of just like, nothing about what Nashville did, I think, surprised Jared Bednar. And I think, he probably felt like nothing should have surprised the players either. But it did just seem like they kind of got to a point where they, for the first time this season, just kind of like packed it up and we're just like, we just don't have it in us to get back in this one. And I do want to, and this is going to sound like I'm just being such like an apologist for it, but like, it's 82 games. That's going to happen a couple nights here and there. Like you said, I think it was interesting because we hadn't seen that. But point is, that's going to happen. You're going to just not have your legs one night. And I think that's why there was so much emphasis on, okay, how do we respond? And I think you have to be really happy with the response. Before we get to the response, Mackenzie Blackwood, that was his first game back after missing a little bit of time with some injury. I don't necessarily think Mackenzie Blackwood was terrible. But I also don't think he just didn't look very sharp. Scott Wedgwood got the start Monday. He's going to get it again tonight. And I'm not talking long-term. I just mean really kind of in the immediate, any concerns on Mackenzie Blackwood?
No, I think it's really tough at the goaltending position to miss time and then just get right back into it. I feel like there is this period of ramping back up to game speed. And thankfully, he at least clarified that he felt good from the body perspective. So it wasn't like something that he'd been battling with while he was away was still bothering him in this game.
Right.
He could tell. This too, I like seeing this side of Mackenzie Blackwood because you don't see it very often, but you hear about it. Jared Bednar talks about how competitive he is. And you could see how critical he was of himself, pretty honestly. There was no making excuses. He was quick to be kind of hard on himself. And I don't necessarily revel in that specifically, but there's no doubt in my mind that he also walked away from that very dissatisfied and knowing that he could do better. He left some saves on the table, if you will. And the thing is, I don't think Mackenzie Blackwood's the reason they lost that game.
No, I don't
So I'm not worried about him at all. Short answer.
Yeah, I think it's a great call out of like, he missed almost about 3 weeks. And then to jump back in again against a hot Nashville team right now, the only thing that I did just find a teeny bit interesting is that Wedgwood got started Monday, which I thought that made sense, but I was expecting Blackwood here for the last couple games of the week. I just wanted to address, like, there's a couple comments and I got a bunch of feedback this morning, people saying like, why isn't Blackwood playing more, things like that. And I really do. I just think that this is how, we've seen Jared Bednar manages goaltenders like this in the past, including in the Cup year when Pavel Francouz would play well, he would ride Pavel Francouz for a few games. And I just think that that's what Jared Bednar is doing is one, out of necessity with the couple of injury stretches that Mackenzie Blackwood has had, it's kind of forced Wedgwood into more action. But I just think that there's no reason not to play Scott Wedgwood right now if he's feeling good and you feel like he's giving you a chance to win games. And we also, I'm just floating this out there, a couple times this season, like the Avs have had a goalie who's felt well enough to back up, but could maybe, still deal with a little bit, in terms of starting. And there could be an element of that still going on where it's like, hey, I felt good, not great in that game Friday. So if we can, let's go with Scott for a couple here where I can really get back to feeling better. And I just wanted your perspective on it.
Yeah, I feel like both these goalies have kind of a different attitude around starts compared to Georgiev, who was vocal about wanting as many as possible. No matter the stretch, it was like he'll start his way through it. And because of the injury up and downs, that adds a layer of context to that. I think that they're using that to then just manage the starts around that. So with Mackenzie having missed some time, I think easing him back into it more gradually also just naturally made sense here. And I get the sense if it was a bigger issue for Mackenzie Blackwood, then he would have started. Like, I think they both have a really good understanding between each other, how their bodies are feeling, what they're most comfortable with. And they also seem to have that kind of rapport where Mackenzie could speak up and say as much if he wanted to.
I completely agree.
I think they have a really good relationship, and it's not just them to each other. I think with the coaching staff as well as to how these starts get settled, that I don't think it's a goalie controversy. I actually think this is a really beneficial matter of rest, and it will probably help them come playoff time, because we saw Mackenzie Blackwood lock in the Dallas series and get, those continuous starts through 7 games. I think that's still what's going to happen in the playoffs. But it's good for them to find their rhythm in the regular season around managing the weird injury stuff that has cropped up.
Should point out, Scott Wedgwood is slated to start his 30th game of the season tonight. Career high is 32. So he is closing in on his most games played. Not to put this too much on blast and talk about players' personal lives, but I'm not writing Scott Wedgwood's name in pen to be the starter tonight. His wife is due extremely soon. And so at any moment between now and 7 p.m., there could be a last-minute goalie change. So I also just want to put that on people's radars, because I'm expecting that here in the next day or two to see a Trent Miner recall, likely for the game on Friday. And that, I think people are going to immediately go, oh my gosh, what happened? And just so everyone knows,
ooh, baby watch.
We are on mini wedge watch. So
mini Wedge watch.
That's another possibility for either before the game tonight, during the game tonight, or here in the coming days that you could see a Trent Minor recall for Scott Wedgwood to take a day or two with his family. Just to put that out there.
That's awesome.
All right, let's talk about Monday. Potentially Alex Ovechkin's last visit to Denver in his storied, legendary career. And it was a good game. Capitals fans well represented in the Ball Arena crowd. Good energy, for a day game, all that good stuff. And it ended up being, I thought, a fun game, and the Avs kind of took control there, making in the back half. Scott Wedgwood even said after the game, gosh, the second and third period felt easy compared to the first. From his perspective, just what did you see in the Avs? Like I said, kind of taking maybe a minute to start to pull away, but eventually got in control of that game and took care of business.
Yeah, another good team in Washington. So I think Washington played them like they had a recognition of playing the Colorado Avalanche. That was something too that the broadcast acknowledged. I love the way they said it, but I already forgot their phrasing. But you can expect every team's best against the Avs. It remains true. And so I thought it was a pretty even tilt to start. And where they pull away is among the top players, and that's after, frustration. And so I love that. I love when you get to see them channel them being Nathan MacKinnon, frustration and things not going their way into something productive that just can't be denied. It's relentless, and it's Nathan MacKinnon. What makes him so special as a player? He's a threat in every way. He's the offensive threat, but he's also like a chihuahua biting at your ankles. He is not going to let up. He is breathing down your back, and you should always be afraid of Nathan MacKinnon.
Did you, and I'm trying to find it and pull it really quickly. Jared was asked about this yesterday for Nate in particular, of like, he does seem to have this, and this isn't like super revelatory, but like, he's got this ability in a way that other players don't, to channel the frustration and the anger and all of that into productivity. And I feel like there's so many times, and again, I'm trying to load it up quickly here. Because Jared Bednar talked about, like, players, it's an emotional game inherently, right? Like, you're going to have highs and lows, and you're going to have swings. You're going to get pissed off. You're going to be happy. You're going to be whatever. And it's all about how you manage that stuff, focus it in, and what do you take out of it? And he kind of goes on to say, like, Nate, like, that's part of who he is that edge that he has, because he can channel it in the right way. It's like part of what makes him so special. And I just wanted to call it out because you were pointing it out, and at least I'm going to play Jared here in just a second once it loads up. But like, it's something that they are very well aware of. Angry Nate.
And it isn't always productive, but it usually is.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that it does seem fueled by spite, but I think sometimes he's so good at hockey, it could become boring to him, and he needs a little drama. He needs a little motion.
I always laugh, and like, you and I will make the joke to each other in the press box. If the ref makes like a bad call, or, calls him on a trip that he really doesn't agree with or whatever. Right. And like, and he's sitting there, you just see him like getting fired up in the box, and you and I will joke, like, I'd be so pissed if I was the other team. Like, you just got him all pissed off. Like, we didn't even do anything. The refs just got him angry. And, again, he has that goal called back. I guess it wasn't necessarily his goal, but like, the goal gets called back on goalie interference. They come right back and score, and he does another point to the net.
Right. Like the St. Louis game.
Mm-hmm. That one counts. And, it's just, yeah. Do you mind if we take a couple minutes here to listen to Jared from yesterday?
I'd love to listen to Jared.
So this is, we talked to Jared again this morning, but not a long availability this morning. I don't know if you saw that, only 2 minutes. Very unlike Jared Bednar, especially for a morning skate. So short this morning, but this is his availability from yesterday. He talks about the trade, gives some insight on a couple of the injuries. And then the impetus for all of this is he talks about Nathan MacKinnon and that edge that he plays with. So here's Jared Bednar after practice yesterday.
Jimmy Ronson was out there. Oh, sorry. Kimmy Rutz was out there today again.
Yeah.
Are we getting close?
He's close, yeah.
Okay.
I would say not likely tomorrow, but hopefully he's good to go for Friday.
You guys just moved Ilya Solovyov. It looks like the guy that's coming in, one, he's a forward, and two, he hasn't played much in the NHL this season.
Yeah.
You guys are going to be looking to call someone up to fill into that spot for tomorrow?
Yeah, like if Kivy can't go tomorrow, I'm sure we'll be recalling somebody again, yeah.
Unless the wrong playing tomorrow, you think?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, so we'll probably call up a defenseman as well, yeah.
Val was on the ice. Did he check out okay?
Yeah, he seems to be good. He should be playing tomorrow, as long as he presents everything's good tomorrow. But he's feeling better today. He's in the gym right now and feeling good, so should be good.
What is that like when you're a coach and it's like 3 hours before the game and someone says, hey, one of your players surprised? What is that?
Just basically like, well, who are we getting? Who's coming to play? And then you just kind of work from there. You don't have time to think about it, really. Just your first concern is make sure everyone's okay, which we knew he was. And then after that, it's just you're moving on to the who's coming and when are they getting here.
I know it's not necessarily your job to make trades, but like the timing to trade Solovyov when he's one of your 6 healthy D-men, like is that just the way it goes? Or?
Yeah, I mean, and we got some guys down there that we really like that have played well. Like Jack's played really well for us. So Sean, he's won, so, Taser's getting close. And I think sometimes, long-term plans override, just who we're putting in for the next game or two,
Obviously, we see how he's settled in on the ice, but maybe away from the ice, in the locker room, around the guys, how do you think Brock Nelson has maybe even changed a little bit in the last almost year that he's been here now?
Hard to say, because I only see him usually at the rink and on the ice, right? So, but he's always been a great pro. He fits in with all the guys. He's more than happy to share his knowledge and expertise in the game. He's a hard worker in the gym, and so like even from day one, him coming here, I'm sure he's opened up a little bit, but he's not like the most talkative guy. Like he kind of keeps to himself and gets along with everybody. So it's like I don't notice major changes there. I'm sure it's just a comfort level that he has internally to help him continue to play better.
We talked about Arturi Lehkonen kind of having a little bit of a drought there.
Yeah.
One last night.
Yeah.
Like how important is that for him, his confidence, and just, we talked about that he's been playing well. Just
Yeah. Yeah, he's never going to cheat you on his effort and his, work ethic, and plays the right way every night, which is great. There's not a big change in his game when, he's not producing. But you can tell little puck plays and touches on the puck that he would normally make. I think he's been struggling with a few of those here recently. It's clearly, to me, just a confidence thing, and he's going to try and work his way out of it. So for me, he's involved heavily last night. I really like that line. And then to get rewarded on a nice goal like that, I think it can do wonders for you. It's just kind of like monkeys off your back and you're ready to like sort of move forward and try to keep the streak going, So I think it can help a lot.
It's like, Nate, generally speaking, is like very stoic. Even after scoring like a great goal, sometimes he'll just be like, yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
But like there's angry Nate and there's frustrated like smashing sticks Nate.
Yeah.
And, I think last night was angry Nate, and his line just goes out and breaks the game open. Is there do you mind? Do you have like a preference for the like? Are you like, oh man, I don't need him to be frustrated, or do you like, does he play better when he's angry or frustrated? Like just how do you handle like the?
Well, I think he.
Emotional stuff.
Yeah, I just understand who he is and how much he wants to win. So I think you can expect a little bit of all of it. I think him when he's a little angry, a little frustrated, I know where he's coming from because he wants to make something happen every shift. I think that that's part of what drives him to be great. So I think you're going to see, and I expect to see a little bit of all of it all in one game. What I look at is like, are you frustrated? And like for any player, not just Nate, Are you frustrated and then your game's going south? Are you going too individual with your game, or are you sticking to the game plan and continuing to push through the adversity to make something happen? That's exactly what they did last night. They were good start to finish. There was some frustration in there. There was some anger in there. I mean, he celebrates after the goal and points in net because our guys felt like the first one should have been a goal. They make it, they make everything, they do everything right off that face-off to create a goal, and then the league takes it away. So, like, when they scored shortly after that, and I love that emotion. It just shows you how into the game they are and how in tune they are. So, yeah, I mean, I don't handle his emotion any which way. I just let him do what he does and just make sure if he's going off track with it, that I try to remind him, hey, like, you got to keep doing the right things if you want to get rewarded. And that's what they did yesterday. And they do that on their own most nights.
You just mentioned that you guys thought it would be a goal. Not trying to get you to say anything crazy, but like how do you fix that? Because it does seem like that's a major sentiment around the league of like we don't know what
yeah,
makes
I don't
it
know.
challenging.
I don't know. Everyone has different ideas on how you fix it or don't fix it. It just seems like I was more clear 2 years ago and last year than I am this year. So it's like I don't fix it at all. I just accept it for what it is and move on.
Are you surprised at like how quickly they made that call, or you didn't seem long? Like it felt like they saw what they needed to see.
Yeah. I see. I mean, yeah. I'm not surprised. No, I'm not surprised at all. Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Oh my goodness.
Hey.
My computer started freaking out. Where I was like, all right, this is ending. And then I started losing my mind over here. Let me ask you one quick thing. I just want to go back to the game from Monday. That tripping call on Scott.
Yeah.
To this moment, what?
Sometimes I'm like, the league has plot lines that they're trying to enact, and there has to be something about this Washington Capitals game. Also, I think they didn't want to play Logan Thompson because they didn't want another Hockey Canada goalie to get embarrassed by the Avs.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So that was one of my conspiracy theories for the NHL plot lines that they're pulling on. And then something about that call is like, I don't know what you're trying to do, but there has to be a reason. There's a script. I'm not in on it.
Right. Yeah. Didn't get emailed to me. That was just one of those, like, not even like the most egregious call I've ever seen made, but I was just like, hey, you just made up a rule. Nice. You just made up a rule and called a penalty for it. Awesome. The point of the main point that I wanted to hear from Jared Bednar is what he talked about there with Nathan MacKinnon and specifically, that line maybe dealt with a little bit of frustration in the game on Monday, but found the right way to channel that energy, and not only became wildly effective, but were outright dominant at times throughout the game on Monday afternoon. Nathan MacKinnon, Marty Netjes, Arturi Lehkonen, I thought looked like they were on a mission. And again, that comes despite the fact that there were some bounces and calls and things that didn't quite go their way. And just that emphasis on this is a veteran team that can channel some of that frustration and anger and stuff and do good things with it. And I think that lends to, the point that you were kind of making earlier in the show of like, we've seen so many instances this season of them falling behind in games, not maybe playing the way they want to, but being able to collect themselves, get back on the horse and win a game. And it was what made the Friday game so anomalous, for the season. But then you see exactly what you want to out of, angry, frustrated top guys that go out and shine.
And it's not just angry Nathan MacKinnon driving that bus. I appreciate this so much, right? Like, Nate is the one hounding Washington on the forecheck to spring their Arturi Lehkonen goal. It's Marty Netjes creating pressure below the goal line on the forecheck for the Nathan MacKinnon goal that forces a turnover because of a panic decision. And I kind of like seeing Marty in that role too. Mm-hmm. So I like that. Unsurprisingly, Artie Lehkonen. Hello,
you can call him Artie.
Yeah. That's my guy, Artie Lehkonen.
Personal friend, Artie.
Anyways, that being Artie. He, unsurprisingly, is going to be a compliment to Nathan MacKinnon in that way.
Art.
Classic art. But Nate, I'm sorry. This is too so silly. Guys, don't take Mucinex.
Yeah. But also, if they want to sponsor the show, then definitely take Mucinex.
Anyways, Marty Netch's kind of wearing that hat. I think his reputation as a player previously, you don't typically expect that out of him. I think you can start to expect that type of a player out of Marty. Something terrible.
To have
Something terrible's happened.
To have an edge to his game, right? Because like that was so much when he got to town. It was like, yeah, he's a good player, but just doesn't have that edge to his game. Can't play in the playoffs. Can't, you know what? And I think you see that game on Monday, and you start to see like, yeah, that's a guy who can play with the speed and the anger, and I say anger in like a positive way, but like that's a guy who can compete in those types of moments, in those tight checking games, and isn't going to let the frustration take him, to Jared's point, down a path you don't want to go down. No, take that anger, take that frustration, internalize it, and then channel it in the right way. And like you said, it's nice to see not just Nathan MacKinnon doing that, but it's rubbing off on the guys around him.
Dare I say, Arturi Lehkonen always plays like this, a puck hound, right? Like he's just kind of relentless. And I think that's why he works so well with Nathan MacKinnon, especially an angry Nathan MacKinnon.
Yeah.
But you're right.
I've said it before. I think we even talked about it when the Olympic rosters came out, about just like Arturi Lehkonen is what makes the Finnish team so fun to watch every international tournament, because that's the school of hockey there. It's just rabid puck hound, go to the front of the net, take the abuse, win the battle. And he's just he does it so perfectly. All right, I'm gonna start to transition the conversation here to the trade. But while Jared Bednar's interview was playing, you and I found something that we kind of wanted to touch on. And I think it kind of segues well into the trade conversation, because one of the guys we're going to talk about was traded out of Colorado a couple of years ago. So do you want to read out the stat that we're on track for
Yes.
tonight?
Per Av stats, tonight Sam Alinsky is set to pass Bowen Byram on the franchise games played leaderboard and is now 142nd all time.
So, which isn't it also crazy that like when you think about how big rosters are, yet how many teams, like the fact that Sam Alinsky's already at 142, it's like, geez Louise. Bowen Byram, former 4th overall pick for the Avs, integral part of winning the 2022 Stanley Cup, was fantastic in the Stanley Cup final. Especially for such a young player, was productive, and you know, just was a good player. Was ultimately traded out of Colorado because there was the growing sense that you know, he and his camp felt that he had the potential to be a future number one in the NHL. And you know, as good as Bowen Byram is and was for the Avs, he wasn't going to leapfrog Cale Makar or Devon Taves. So it was kind of a move that made sense for everyone, but there was this question, and especially among, you know, the fan base of, hey, well, Bowen Byram was so good for you on that cup run. How do you replace him? How do you replicate him? How do you get that, you know, on your third pair again? Well, Sam Alinsky is officially set to pass him tonight. And Megan, he sits 14 points shy of what Bowen Byram did in that same amount of time. So former 4th overall pick in Bowen Byram, had the draft pedigree, all of that. Sam Alinsky, while yes, an older player by the time he came into the league, undrafted college free agent that the Avs have not only gotten, you know, very good play out of, but they've gotten near Bowen Byram level production. And as Sam Alinsky continues to get better, I imagine that like point per game pace will go up. This is just us kind of parking a second here to say, like, if you're looking back at how that 2022 team was constructed and you say, okay, well, who's the Andrew Cogliano of this team? Who's the Darren Helm? Who's the this? Who's the that? You are looking at Sam Alinsky as the Bowen Byram replacement, affordable contract, highly productive, and is giving you minutes well beyond what I think most people would expect out of a player who's making what Sam Alinsky's making, and the pedigree that he came up through the ranks with.
Yeah, I think it's important to key in on the role expectation of what we said around Bowen Byram when he was here.
Mhm.
He was pretty quickly penciled into the second pair upside and even expected to try around the league for first pair opportunity.
Right.
And so to have that in the player that we've often discussed as a third pair option, that is Sam Malinsky, who's assumed a full-time NHL role at this point and is eyeing down second pair opportunity, playing with Cale Makar right now. I thought the Washington game was fun from him too.
Mhm.
I think the confidence he is shown just in this last stretch generally, no matter where he's playing in the lineup, I think he's making the most of the minutes, but you can see he's having a lot of fun playing with Cale Makar too, as just this secondary threat. Like you're seeing the way in which obviously Cale Makar walking the blue line in search of the perfect lane to the net is terrifying. But then there's Malinsky, right? He could just move that puck across the blue line, same threat, and he's activating, he's playing around the goal line. It's just kind of terrifying. I don't know if that's, a long-term pairing that makes any amount of sense,
Right.
but it sure is fun to see just how much they have gotten out of Sam Malinsky and why I think we need to be having a more serious conversation about what his role is in this league. I think we can start more seriously entertaining that second pair upside for his future and then his future with the Avs, right? He's due for an extension at this time.
Officially eligible.
Eligible to sign. I think that, given the unknown around what he is, because he came back out of the All Four Nations break last year, just playing some of his best hockey, just became so much steadier, right? I think this year his thing has been playing with more confidence, more of a shooting instinct, and being a little bit heavier, just a little bit physical, because he does still play inside kind of that mobile, undersized puck defenseman. Hello? Puck defenseman? Puck moving defenseman.
I didn't even catch it. That's the best part. I didn't even catch you saying puck defenseman.
Just like rolling. That Artie Lehkonen.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah, classic Artie.
He still fits in that mold. I think he's trying to play a little bit heavier. I think that's earning a lot of trust with Jared Bednar. All that to say,
he's doing it responsibly.
He's doing it responsibly. I think too, since he's been trying to crack into this league, he's wanted to never be a liability on the ice. I think that's actually why you saw the caution in his game. And so that, the shooting instinct, that uptick, I think is a confidence in trust in himself to not make mistakes. I think there was a fear of making mistakes because he wants to be a responsible player. And so I think that he's feeling more comfortable that he's not going to be a liability. He's playing a safe, responsible game, closing plays out in his own end. And that has just kind of opened up the game for him offensively. So stylistically, this just makes so much sense with the way that the Avs like to play. That's why you can throw him with Cale Makar, and it's, you've kind of got two similar guys out there at the same time, and it's just this double layered threat. All that to say, he makes a lot of sense in their future planning. A right side option too never hurts. It's, you see teams do silly things when they need to bolster their right side. And he's at an age too where he's not a super young player. So the maturing aspect, it's really there for him. He is so good at staying ready, staying prepared. He's fit in with that part of the culture here in Colorado very well. But young enough that, it's not like the way the Manson deal, that extension's probably going to look a little different at the end of its time here. The leadership he brings, unparalleled, right? You could get a little bit younger then with Malinsky, but still not sacrificing experience and maturity. It makes every bit amount of sense.
Well, and I wanted to go back and make this point at the beginning when you're talking about him and Cale playing together. Cale Makar is such an unbelievable shooting threat. The heaviness behind his shot, the accuracy, how quickly he can get shots off, the way he's able to change the angle on the shooting position and all of that. Sam Malinsky, I think, is one of the sneakiest shot threats anywhere in the league. He is a heavy shooter.
Yes, his wrister is so powerful.
I was telling my buddy Zach, who we grew up playing with a guy like this. When you just watch him and he shoots and and the puck goes in, you go, oh, that was a nice shot. But it's all when they shoot and miss and hit the boards behind the net, you can hear the heaviness in it. Sam Malinsky has that to his shot. Where it's just when we're at the practice facility and, they're shooting a bunch of pucks and, he missed the net a few times. There's a heaviness to Sam Malinsky's shot. And I just think he's such a threat in a way that maybe people aren't expecting or ready for. I'm sure we will be talking a lot more about Sam Malinsky here as we head towards the end of the season, as he's now, as of 20 days ago, eligible for an extension. Okay, let's touch briefly on just some of the injuries. No real updates. And then we are going to just unpack the Ilya Solovyov trade, what it means, why it's good, what matters coming next. Gabe Landeskog, Jared Bednar said this morning, feeling better, starting to be able to push things a little bit more in the weight room, but is still a ways out. The reporting, nothing was ever officially confirmed by the team. So anything that we have or that has been reported out there, none of it's ever been officially confirmed, but it does sound like it's broken or fractured ribs from that collision with the net. He was in the team video the other night giving out, helping give out the game puck and all that stuff. So he's back around, starting to feel a little bit better. Val Nichushkin is in the game tonight for the Avs after missing the last game with what they classified as an upper body injury. Got into a car accident on his way to the arena. I don't know about you. I was telling the Avs head of PR yesterday, that was so not what I was expecting Jared Bednar to say when asked about Val Nichushkin after the game.
No, but if you've ever driven down Spear,
Yeah.
which I'm just assuming that would be the route from Cherry Creekish area to Ball Arena, I can see how this happened.
I get it.
People are crazy.
And Jared did say that like the roads were a little icy.
They were.
That it was multi-car. So my guess is in addition to people being crazy on Spear, there's probably a little bit of ice. One car probably hit another, and that led to a couple other little pileups. It does sound like Val was able to drive his car out of there.
That's good.
So, thankfully wasn't a terrible accident. Arturi Lehkonen, Artie, Yoel Kiviranta, back skating, was at morning skate, not going tonight. Taylor McCarr was recalled, but it does sound like the expectation is, Megan, that he'll find himself back in the lineup here at some point near the end of the week. Last update is Devon Taves, who did resume skating this week. It's upper body, it's his shoulder, and you could definitely tell the first couple days this week getting back on the ice was taking it careful, taking it slow, with putting the shoulder through too much, but nice to see him back on the ice. That's a legitimate step of progress towards getting back in the lineup.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And I've loved the opportunities that have opened up for some of the forward depth as a result of, Kiviranta making his way back here. But the back end toll has been concerning without Devon Taves, even with guys stepping up. I think that he's just too crucial a piece. And we kind of felt like the depth on D was the thing they'd be looking at around the deadline, Solovyov trade or not. So I think that losing Taves was kind of like, that just kind of reveals how thin it is with the depth they're truly comfortable with to stay competitive.
Right. Yeah. No, and it's part of what makes you wonder about what's coming next, because we actually went to the practice facility yesterday with the intention of doing another one-on-one Russian interview with one of the Avs Russian speakers. Yesterday it was going to be Ilya Solovyov. So we're down there. We're all ready to bring you guys that great piece of content. We got so much feedback, great feedback on when we went and talked to Bardakov in his native tongue. So we show up all ready to talk to Ilya Solovyov. We're like, whoa, he's not taking the optional practice? That's very unlike him. Well, it turns out Ilya Solovyov was in the process of being traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for Valtteri Puustinen, 26-year-old undersized winger from the Pittsburgh Penguins organization. Got into a baker's dozen of games with the Pens last year, but so far this season, just games with Wilkes-Barre Scranton of the AHL. 35 games played, 7 goals, 26 assists. Megan, the Avs traded one of their 6 healthy defensemen for an AHL forward. This feels like a little bit of a cap clearing move, give themselves some extra money, some extra flexibility. To me, this perked my antennas up even more so for between now and I believe it's the 4th of February, which is the Olympic trade freeze. This felt a little bit like a couple seasons ago when the Avs traded Curtis McDermott right before trading for Casey Middlestat, among a couple other players. I guess let's start here. Thoughts on Solovyov's time with the Avs?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts. So I don't know.
Really?
No, not about his time with just like generally around the trade.
I was like, really? A lot of thoughts on something? Let's hear it. But
just a lot of thoughts around the trade, like a couple different angles.
Mhm.
But I will say, Solovyov's time, I get the sense that they were never fully in love with him.
Yeah.
And I think he played some of his best hockey in this last stretch. But the game before he's traded, he takes a bad penalty. And
Like,
I doubt
immediately.
that is the sole reason. All right, ship him out. I think it's more so there had been a couple penalties. And then I think overall it was easy to point to the penalties and then not being fully in love with his fit. And say, you know what, let's move on from this player while his stock is at its highest. He has had this recent stretch of some points in games and then, his first goal as well. And honestly, I thought there were some really highly skilled plays that like a seam pass that helped to contribute to those points. So I think some of his best hockey in this last stretch and after having missed some time. So I just think his stock was high. And because they knew they weren't fully in love with him, it was a merciful parting of ways too. And it was also great asset management too. Like they recognize they're not fully in love with this player. They've claimed him off waivers for nothing.
Right.
Now they can turn this into a net positive. Even though that net positive maybe doesn't have the most NHL roster implications, though I think in looking, 20 points in one of those NHL seasons for Puustinen with the Penguins, there's just, you could dream on the possibility of NHL upside. He's a speedy top 6 winger that you add to your Eagles lineup. And honestly, there's no shortage of this type of player. So that's what I find interesting. I think they just recognize value for value. This is a really great return, even though the fit, like right now, this isn't a crucial need for the Eagles specifically. This is a great player who's made franchise records with Wilkes-Barre for the organization. And so he's having one of his most productive seasons yet in the American Hockey League. At 26 years old, it's just, why not dream on the upside if it's there? It's a net positive. Otherwise, on what was a free waiver claim,
Right.
it just makes a lot of sense. And then the stylistic fit of the way that Puustinen likes to play high pace, it just makes a lot of sense then to add a speedy guy. I think too, I don't think his relentlessness, that honey badger quality that we see in a player like Gavin Brindley, for example, I don't think it's quite the same, but I do think he plays with a high motor. And so I kind of just see him too as, why not add another guy like this as kind of a Gavin Brindley insurance to if we're not feeling that his experience is where we'd like it to be come playoffs time, but we still like this toolkit that he has. This is just another player that I think has a similar toolkit to keep as an option.
Yeah, and I love your call out there of you took a waiver claim and just turned him into another player that'll be in a similar situation, but also a pick. And yeah, it's a 7th round pick, but you have a 7th round pick that's going to play for you tonight. So you're getting another lottery scratcher. I also agree with the point that you made off the top of I don't think that they were ever like, oh man, we gotta find a way to get Ilya Solovyov into the lineup. That's not meant to be a dig at Solovyov. It's just we've known going back to the summer, 1 through 6 looks really good for the Avs. That 7th D, they need an upgrade there. They need something a little bit better. Whatever. And it's a 7th D. We knew there was going to be an upgrade there at some point or a change there at some point when they claimed Solovyov. We kind of had the argument, the conversation of gosh, couldn't Curtis McDermott, Keaton Middleton give you basically the same exact thing? And I think that was what they looked at was we really like Jack Ashawn. We have Keaton Middleton. If we want a big guy like Solovyov,
right,
we can clear some cap space, bring in a player that, and we talk about it all the time. You've got to put 2 teams together. NHL organizations don't just get to say, all right, just the NHL team, nothing else. You have to worry about what is happening with your American Hockey League team. And like I said, I think this is likely the first move in a series of moves between now and March 6th.
So that was where my other
Yeah, let's hear it.
tinfoil hat moment comes in. And it could be the Mucinex, you guys. But Zach Whitecloud, when that trade happens,
Interesting.
I just wonder if that, to me, this is Meghan Angley speaking. That is a guy that the Avs would love to have at the bottom of their lineup on their decor. Like, that's a luxury to even have a player like that there. And I think he's exactly like the stay-at-home defenseman model who can keep up with pace, just really responsible, versatile defenseman that they would love to have. And so I think a player like that getting moved is maybe like added a sense of urgency of, all right, well, who are the guys on our list? I'm not even saying Zach Whitecloud specifically was a guy on their list, but I just wonder if that's, what put things in motion. Like, this is a part of a lineup we want to get better at. We have a list of guys that we like for it. Let's go get them. And let's make then clear space for that to happen. And that would mean getting clear on how we feel about Ilya Solovyov first and foremost, and then making moves towards whoever that guy is. Cool guy too.
Wow. Zach Whitecloud. So did you listen to the 32 Thoughts from Monday? They floated that they thought Zach Whitecloud could be a player that Calgary brought in to flip
to Colorado
again after. So
I made that part up. You guys don't.
But no, to your point, I wish he was a lefty.
What do you mean? That would be the weirdest problem for the Avs to continue having.
We have 5 righties. But no, I don't think that's very tinfoil hatty at all. I think that's what's happening here. Because, look, you have 6 healthy defensemen. And while Devon Taves is maybe getting closer, you're probably at least 3 games out, at least, if not a little bit more than that. We're close enough to the Olympic break here that, like, you could easily convince me of a world where they just say, Taves and Gabe will be back after the break. And so it's like you're already short on defensemen and you just traded a healthy one. You guys are doing something. You're up to something.
Right.
Like, and I don't know what it is. Darren Drager has now, for multiple weeks in a row, in multiple places, linked Nazem Kadri to the Avalanche. Now, I don't know how you make that work with the money. I don't know if Calgary wants to eat money for 3 years. But like, I don't know. Is CMAC trying to put together a Kadri and Whitecloud package? Could you imagine running McKinnon, Nelson, Kadri, Drury down the middle?
I'm just like really scared what that would come at the expense of.
I think it'd be less than what you think. It'd be Colton for sure.
And
unfortunately,
that would feel like another merciful, like, Solovyov opportunity. I think it would open up for him. I really like his fit though. So
I do too. But
you could talk me into that a little bit more.
He does have a 12-team no trade, Ross Colton. Again, I'm not stumping or pushing for them to go pursue Panarin, but again, it's more and more out there every day. And like, that's a place where it's like, well, Ross Colton would definitely waive to go to New York and be a 20-minute train ride from home. We're gonna put together our trade boards. There will probably be something in there from like, I've heard a little bit of this, heard a little bit of that, but for Friday's show, it's going to be, Megan and I are going to each put together our boards of players we find intriguing potential fits for the Avs.
It's Zach Whitecloud, but he's had a secret surgery that allows him to be a lefty.
yeah. And I will say, like, I do think there's maybe a part of it where you just say, screw it. If you like the player enough, you know what I mean? You just say that's who we're going to add and it is what it is. But like, I do think genuinely, I think the Avs are going to try to go towards this deadline. Do you remember in 22 when the deadline passed, it was kind of like they have too many guys. Like, they acquired like a couple too many guys. I think that's where we're heading again here.
That's how I feel about the Eagles with Puustinen. Like, They have 6 healthy forwards on a nightly basis that are really good and could be in the lineup, and they've just added a top 6 guy. It's like, I don't know how they're going to juggle all these divas.
Right.
I don't know how the Avs are going to juggle all these divas.
And I just think that, like, again, in 2022, it was the Cogliano one where everyone was like, okay, you were already like having to talk about who you're scratching and you just added one more guy. I think that's going to be Chris McFarland and Joe Sakic. I think that's going to be their approach here, is like, we're going to get to where we think we want the roster to be. And then we're going to add one more. Like, I just think back to that 2022 run where you had Andre Burakovsky being healthy scratched. You had Alex Newhook being healthy scratched. He ended up getting in and playing crucial minutes for him, but like Jack Johnson, healthy scratch. You were able to sustain losing Sam Girard because you went one step further with the depth. And that's what I think this is the first domino to fall in them starting to think about doing. Cause again, like, I can't believe how far into the season we are. We're coming up on game 50, and I can't remember, like, most teams have fewer than 10 games to play between now and the deadline.
Jeez.
And it doesn't feel that way because it feels far away, but like you take those 3 weeks out for the Olympic break, which are probably going to go quick, and you're there. You're less than you're a week from the deadline. And so it's just like, there's, I think teams are going to start getting active. And I think you're 100% spot on with what you said a minute ago of the Avs are saying, okay, we're going to put our wheels in motion now for where we eventually want to be after the deadline. And I think it started yesterday.
I do, because I think the types of players that they typically target aren't the guys that are the most available for a trade. And so it's probably going to take some maneuvering, finagling, phone calls back and forth. They might have to have other team scouts come out and look at specific players to see who they're going to be interested in to make that return make any kind of sense on whatever Cool Guy 2 looks like for their back end. And so that's going to take some time. I think they're putting the wheels in motion for that to start happening. Well,
and then you also have to wonder, and again, just to the point you were making about players that the Eagles have available to them, I don't know. Is that a reason why you add Puustinen? Because it's like, hey, we might have to dip into this, this pool here and pull out a Prishepov, a Danil Gushin, something like that. I don't, I'm just plucking top 6 names for the Eagles, but you get what I'm saying. Like, again, is this starting them looking ahead saying, yeah, a couple of conversations we've had, whatever, with Calgary about Naz. Well, they've commented they like Ty Fellow. I have the Eagles roster in front of me. I'm just yelling out the first name my eyes looked down and grabbed. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. Does Max Curran, who just had a good World Juniors, does he get involved in this? Ilya Nabokov. Why did his name fall out of my head? The defenseman.
Guliev.
I said Gushin a minute ago, and that's all I could come up with. And I just, you just wonder about, you'll sometimes see a move that you go, why'd they trade a healthy NHL defenseman for this guy who, it even feels crowded at the Eagles room. And then you usually see a subsequent move that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, their greed sickens me, actually. C-Mac, your greed sickens me. I don't mean it.
Oh man. All right, let's wrap things up here. We had
Jesse trying to trade all the Eagles.
Yeah, no. Let's hit that super chat we had from Vaguely earlier in the show. Will we be getting PWHL coverage this weekend? I'm going to be honest with you guys. We have not really had a chance to put anything together for this weekend.
Not officially.
But
I will be covering it in some capacity.
There we go. And for sure, we've already looked ahead on the schedule to the next takeover game where there's no Avalanche conflicts. So it'll be much easier, much more well planned out for the second PWHL visit. Yes, we will definitely be on top of it to some extent.
It might be like audio only becomes an article kind of a thing.
Yep. And the other thing that, just from a resources standpoint here at Guerilla, hey, look, I'm not trying to say that any one is more important than other, but it is also Broncos game day in the AFC Championship game. So we'll have resources being pulled in different directions. But yes, we're always trying to make sure we are staying on top of all of that. Anything PWHL that comes through Denver. And like I said, in the game in March, which Megan and I have circled on the calendar that we will be looking forward to get some more content built out for that one.
I'll be there.
But yes.
And I might be trying to come down to the main seat. So if you guys want to say hi, just LMK.
Just if you see her, just scream her name at the top of your lungs.
Please.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, I have so many thoughts. But
do you really?
No, I think it's good. I'm trying to make sure we covered all our bases. Solovyov.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Taves.
And we got a show again on Friday.
You're so right. I'm excited for that show, you guys.
Yeah, me too.
Because we are going to be doing the trade stuff, but we're going to be having some bigger conversations. I'm excited. We haven't dug in around the league quite like this yet this year, and I think it'll be a good primer for the trade deadline because I think you're spot on, Jesse. The things are already happening.
Mm-hmm.
They're already happening right now.
And like I said, I make that comment because it was actually a player that made the comment to me about like, yeah, and we were just talking about the compressed schedule more than anything else. And they were like, yeah. And then, like there's teams out there that already have fewer than 10 games between now and the deadline. And I was like, nah, you might be right. Like, holy smokes. I can't believe how quick this season is going. It's crazy. That's going to do it, folks. Game coverage tonight. And like I said, we are back at it on Friday as the Avs round out this season-long homestand. The Eagles are already out on the road, wrapped up their homestand this past weekend. So a lot of hockey in Colorado, taking the show on the road here in the next few days. We got John back there behind the glass today. Where are we at? A little bit shorter than what it's been in the last few weeks, right?
Yeah.
Right? Technically. So we let John off the hook a little bit today. John behind the glass. She's Megan. I'm Jesse's Guerilla Sports Off Ice. Thank you guys so much. We will talk to you tonight after the game. We'll see you later.
Bye.